because you had a point that I know people are going to want to talk about.
Okay.
And you had an inside perspective on it. You said young Dak.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is the time, 2016, where I don't want to say it was a passing of the torch, but it was the passing of a torch, right?
Yeah.
And so the team had to make a decision. It was, we can't go back to Tony.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. And now we're full steam ahead with this young cat.
Yeah, it was wow, man. And that I've never in my life seen a situation.
I want but I don't want to cut you off. But give me the dynamics of the locker room, because you said it. We had some veteran cats in there. Because you talk about a veteran cat, that means they were in the Romo era.
Yeah.
But then you had a bunch of new cats. You had the Zekes of the world. You had the young cats of the world, and they were like, "We with this new Joker."
Yeah.
And how was the dynamic in the locker room between? Was it split down the middle? Was it like posses? It was like, nah, I'm team Romo. I'm team Dak. Like, how was it?
It was crazy because I'll take it all the way back to training camp when we first saw Dak. It was at the LA Coliseum preseason game against the Rams. And I'm thinking, man, why the hell am I even playing? Like, what, man? Why y'all got me out here? I'm mad. Half of the cats over there, but that's beside the point. Yes, but I was sick too. Like, why am I playing? Romo, everybody dance, chilling. But anyways, so we get, I see him for the first time live, and in training camp, you got a strong arm, young dude. He gonna be all right. But when I saw him on the actual field, even though it was a preseason game, he was going against the Rams once. And I saw him drive that ball from the 20, and he threw a little fade to Dez for the. I said, oh, he got a little flavor. Nowhere near thinking he's going to be able to start or anything like that. But I'm like, oh, this dude, he got something. There was no more of that, because before he got there, the backups were, no disrespect, but Kellen Moore.
Showers.
There was a guy who paid for the Patriots, Castle, and anytime Romo went down, we was, oh, that's the game. It's over with. So I was like, all right, there's no more of that. We got a solid backup, thinking. And so when Romo goes down, second game, I think it was second or third game maybe. Oh, no, he went down in the preseason.
To Seattle.
And when that first game came out, and I think we lost the first one, to be honest with you. I think we lost that one, but then we went on a run, like 6 or 7 straight. And I knew then it was like, there's no way we can go back to 9. There's no way we can go back to Romo with the momentum as it is. If it was like 2 or 3 games, I'm like, all right, you got to give 9 his shot again. But it was just a run, and the run was spectacular. It wasn't like, it was a run where we barely scraping by. I mean, we scraping teams up. Zeke was out there just looking like a straight monster. Dak, after the play action, was going crazy. Dez was going crazy that year. So we rolling, and it even got to the point where it was around Christmas time, and Romo was like on his way back. He might be back for the next week, maybe the next 2 weeks. He's starting to throw the ball a little bit out there. And it got to the point where I'm sitting there, I'm like, we might go back to 9. I don't know. And then Witten, of all cats, and you know how Witten was in that locker room with Romo. Like, they still to this day probably best friends, whatever the case may be. But when Witten said, nah, this is Forrest go, basically. Like, this is Dak squad. We got to ride with this, man.
Wow.
That's when it was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going. Now, that's what I was seeing out there. There's an even deeper level to it, of course. But because on the defensive side of the ball, we don't get too much into that. But from what we were seeing,
but just a locker room perspective, the vibe. What was the vibe in the locker room?
Everybody was like, yo, Dak got to ride. And there's nothing against Tony, because Tony did all he could, but you can't stop them at momentum like that. Like, once momentum starts rolling, it's like an unstoppable force, man. You can't get in the way of that.
Right.
And now, looking back, I'm like, in that situation, maybe Romo might have pulled that game out versus the Packers. Maybe he would have been ready for that postseason, game against them. But at the end of the day, you had to ride with that momentum and that train, because it was unstoppable, man. The way they took off, what was it, 2-1-4, whatever they had, man. It was a whole wave, man. And what's crazy is I've been on a lot of squads, but that 2016 squad was the first time where, how you usually do. The defense do their own rookie dinner, offense do their own rookie dinner. That was like, it was a group collab. It was offense, defense, all doing this dinner at the same time. Like, that was one of the tightest teams I've ever been around.
Who was the orchestra behind that? Was that a
that was like, yeah, it was like, no, it wasn't Dak, it wasn't none. It was a leadership committee. So, Garrett and his whole, I used to have them things going. But anyways, it was the committee, basically. It was 11 of us. And we was just unreal tight. And I think a lot of it had to do was we were young in some parts, but then a lot of the veterans understood that the young guys could bring a lot to this team. And they weren't just kind of shunning them to the side like, when they play, they play. No, they was getting them young boys ready, and that got us together as a group. And that was the tightest team I've ever been on, ever been in my life been on. That was the tightest group. And I think that's why we were so good that regular season. Too bad we couldn't, turn it in, during the playoffs. But, yeah, I think what made that team so special was, like, everybody was all for one pretty much.